my experience in the legislature is that nobody thinks they're ever getting enough money. And regardless of how generous the allocation is. I used to say when I first went into the Assembly Republican Conference that Governor Cuomo would propose $200 million of school aid increase. Everyone would automatically puff out their chest and say 400. And then the next year he'd propose 300 of increase, and everyone would automatically puff out their chest and say 600. There's no rhyme or reason to how, as we know, that school aid formula, and I applaud the efforts that the administration has made to try to focus more attention on quote-unquote need, but need is always in the eye of the beholder. And you have one of the groups out there that's, I think, promoting more equity, and I think the CFE thing was in large part misguided in how they approached it. But one of the groups promoting equity identifies out of the 700 plus school districts in the state, 600 are high need. And it's like the Lake Wobegon effect. All of our children are above average. I mean, it's just simply one of those things. One of the problems I find with the CDC's analysis of caps and some of their solution at the end in terms of trying to make everything income-based is that it ignores the reality that many, especially in the suburbs, many suburban school districts are always going to be willing to tax themselves more to pay for additional education. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you look at these data and you analyze how much we're spending in Great Neck or other places, Scarsdale, but you're seeing numbers that are 23, 24,000. But even Buffalo, when the number in the report says Buffalo's data are over $15,000 per child. Now, the vast majority of that comes from state aid, and but when we were calculating it, when we added in other money they were getting, we actually calculated on the control board that the city school district is getting over $17,000 per child. And so it gets to a point where if you just are analyzing this from the standpoint of how much money you're getting, and you're not looking at, well, what are you getting for your money, and are we really giving the taxpayers something that's rational? I mean, I proposed last year to give the localities and school districts the ability to create 401k type programs for new employees. We have got to change the paradigm in New York State in so many fundamental ways, because we are simply driving people away because of our costs. We've got to change that. One of the some data that's not in this CDC report about upstate property taxes, the Census Bureau put out a report about the counties in the country that are paying the highest property taxes relative to their wealth, their personal wealth, and out of the top 10, I think 6 of them are in upstate New York, all in western New York, Niagara County, Erie County. These places, literally, there is such an exodus of people leaving those places because of this, and CBC's report doesn't address that, and I think it needs to, and I think policymakers need to really start paying attention to the fundamentals of what's going on, because right before our eyes that we're not paying attention, people continue to flee, and so much of this is just really gilding the lily unless we have fundamental change. And that's why I think if you don't have a cap, you will not control spending. You will not force the control of spending. If you just simply are talking about, well, we'll have more middle-class star or we'll have a bigger circuit breaker, you don't get to the point of where's the money getting spent. Because even though they had $1.8 billion of additional school aid and $1 billion more of middle-class star on top of the $4 billion or so we're now spending in star, what happened with local taxes? School taxes were still going up, and people said, I thought our taxes were going to not go up. Well, school districts all over the state, their taxes were going up 6, 7, 8%, and a lot of it gets back to spending, pensions, benefits, Triborough, all those things that Albany doesn't want to address.